My girlfriend said, "You were just practice." After 2 years together, I sat there numb, watching her walk away like I never mattered. I smiled quietly and spent months building the life she mocked, totally unaware of what was about to happen next. I am 31 and own a small digital marketing agency in Chicago. For 2 years, I believed I had found the woman I would spend my life with. Her name was Lila, 29, an influencer who built her world around attention, validation, and followers. Her day revolved around perfect lighting, brand deals, and engagement metrics. I admired her drive at first. It felt ambitious, creative, modern. I loved watching her work the camera, thinking she just wanted success, not realizing I was slowly becoming one of her props. We met at a networking event downtown. I had just landed a new client, and she was promoting a local fashion line. She approached me with that easy confidence influencers carry, a smile trained to win every room. We started talking about business, then about family, travel, dreams. Within a month, she moved into my apartment. It felt fast, but exciting, like life was finally moving somewhere. My friends warned me that dating someone who lived online was risky, but I thought they just didn't understand her world. At first, things were good. She cooked occasionally, filmed us doing couple challenges, posted about how supportive I was. I'd wake up to videos of us trending on her page, thousands of people commenting on our relationship like they knew us. It was surreal but flattering. She would call me her anchor, the one who kept her grounded while she chased her career. But slowly the tone changed. She started comparing me to her influencer friends' boyfriends. They bought jewelry, rented limos, posted grand gestures for the world to see. She would scroll through her phone and say things like, "Look how Ryan surprised his girlfriend with a weekend in Miami." I'd smile and remind her that I was saving for our future. She would laugh, not cruelly at first, but with that tone that made me feel small. I brushed it off because love, I thought, meant patience. Months passed, and the small things became patterns. She began treating our life like content. Dinner wasn't dinner unless she could film it. Vacations weren't vacations unless she had perfect photos. Every argument somehow became a story for her followers about boundaries and self-care. When I confronted her once, asking why she was sharing our private fights, she said it was relatable content. I remember sitting there, realizing she didn't see me as a partner anymore. I was an accessory to her brand. 2 weeks before our anniversary, she grew distant. The phone stayed face down. Her stories were full of collabs with male photographers and influencers I had never met. She started sleeping late, saying she was editing videos. One night, I heard her laughing on the balcony at 2 a.m., whispering into her phone. When I asked who it was, she brushed it off as a business call. Something in me knew the truth, but I didn't want to face it. I convinced myself that every relationship had rough patches. When our anniversary came, I planned a night she would never forget. I made a reservation at her favorite rooftop restaurant overlooking the Chicago skyline. I even brought a ring box, though I wasn't sure if I'd use it. She arrived late, as usual, in the red dress I had bought her months ago for a campaign. She looked beautiful, radiant even, but something about her smile felt rehearsed. I stood up to greet her, but she barely made eye contact. Instead, she snapped a few selfies before sitting down. The waiter poured champagne. I tried to make small talk, asking about her latest sponsorship, pretending not to notice how distracted she was. Every few minutes, she'd check her phone, laugh, and type something quickly. I asked who she was texting. She smiled and said, "To someone who actually understands my goals." That stung, but I stayed calm. As the night went on, I felt the distance stretch between us. I began telling her how proud I was of what she had accomplished, how I saw us building something real beyond the screens and the noise. She didn't respond. Instead, she stared at me for a long second, then leaned back and said, "You know you're just practice, right?" Her voice was casual, almost playful, but it sliced through me like glass. For a moment, I thought I misheard. The waiter standing nearby froze. A couple at the next table glanced our way. I felt every muscle in my body tense, but I didn't move. I looked at her, at the woman I had loved, realizing that everything I had poured into her had been a rehearsal for someone else's story. My stomach turned, my chest tightened, but I managed to stay composed. She waited for a reaction, maybe expecting anger, humiliation, something she could later post about. Instead, I just nodded. I placed my napkin neatly on the table, reached into my jacket for my card, and said, "Then I guess the lesson's over." Her smile faded. The confidence in her eyes flickered for the first time. I signed the bill, stood up, and walked out into the cool Chicago night without looking back. That drive home was silent. The city lights blurred through the windshield. I wasn't angry, not even heartbroken. I just felt empty. But beneath that emptiness, something was waking up, a quiet resolve that would soon change everything. Halfway through dinner, I reached for her hand and told her how much she had changed my life. The city lights flickered around us, music playing softly in the background, but she seemed distracted, eyes darting between her phone and the table behind me. I thought she was nervous, maybe waiting for a surprise. I was right, but not in the way I hoped. When she finally looked up, she had that expression she used when recording her videos, polished and detached. Then she leaned back, smiled, and said, loud enough for the next table to hear, "You know, you were just practice, right? I finally know what I actually want now." The sound of glasses clinking stopped. Conversations froze mid-sentence. Even the waiter holding a tray of drinks hesitated. My ears rang. I stared at her, unable to process what I had just heard. She didn't look guilty or nervous. She looked entertained, like this was all part of some social experiment. I searched her face for a hint of remorse, something human, but found nothing. It felt like she had rehearsed this line, maybe even tested how it would sound out loud. I remembered every late night she spent editing her content, every promise that we were building something real together. At that moment, it all dissolved into a script she had already written without me. I could have caused a scene. I could have shouted, demanded answers, embarrassed her the way she had just embarrassed me. But something inside me clicked. I realized how tired I was of explaining my worth to someone who measured value in views and comments. I stayed still, letting the silence stretch until even she seemed uncomfortable. Then I nodded. I placed my napkin neatly on the table, pulled out my card, and told her in the calmest voice I had ever used, "Then I guess class is dismissed." The waiter blinked, unsure whether to approach. She rolled her eyes, crossing her arms, muttering something about how I could never handle a strong woman. That was her favorite line, her shield against accountability. I stood up, thanked the waiter, and walked out. The night air hit me like a wave, cold and clean. Behind me, I could hear her calling my name, not out of regret, but annoyance. She didn't expect me to walk away. People like her thrived on reactions, on being chased, on turning pain into content. I gave her none of that. Outside, the streets of Chicago glowed with neon signs and car lights. I walked slowly, trying to breathe through the ache in my chest. I wasn't just mourning her. I was mourning the version of myself that believed love could fix someone who didn't want to be fixed. Every step toward my car felt like shedding something heavy. When I got inside, I sat there for a few minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel. I could see my reflection in the window, tired eyes, jaw tight, a man finally waking up from a long, exhausting dream. I started the engine, not sure where to go. My apartment felt contaminated with memories of her laughter echoing from every corner, so I drove aimlessly through the quiet streets. By the time I reached the highway, the city lights were fading behind me. I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone. I just drove, letting the rhythm of the road calm my heartbeat. Somewhere between exits, I realized this was the first real silence I had felt in months. No phone buzzing, no background noise of her voice rehearsing the next post. No need to explain myself. Just quiet. That silence was not emptiness. It was focus. A strange calm settled over me, stronger than anger, deeper than heartbreak. I didn't know what would come next, but for the first time, I was certain it would not involve being anyone's practice ever again. She texted nonstop for days, her messages swinging wildly between guilt, anger, and false affection. One minute, it was "you're overreacting," the next it was "you will never find someone like me." By the third day, her tone had turned defensive, accusing me of embarrassing her by leaving the restaurant. I stayed silent. The fourth morning, I woke up to a final message that read, "You blocked me, really?" The answer was yes. I had. Blocking her was not about revenge. It was about breathing again. I spent that weekend cleaning my apartment, like I was erasing her from every corner. The ring box I had once hidden in my drawer went straight into the trash. I deleted every photo, every video, every message that still tied me to the illusion of who she pretended to be. Then I went further. I called our landlord and gave notice to end the lease. She would have to find a new place to film her perfect little life. We had a joint savings account we were building for our so-called future. I logged in, withdrew my half, and discovered she had used a portion to book a girl's trip to Miami. The irony made me laugh. She had even written the caption in the booking memo practice, "Makes perfect." I called the bank, reported the card as compromised, and froze the account. The next day, her flight was canceled. She texted me from another number, furious, accusing me of trying to ruin her brand. But I'd already learned that silence cuts deeper than any insult. A week later, one of my friends who had been at the restaurant sent me a message. He had filmed part of the dinner by accident while recording his girlfriend's birthday toast. In the background, Lila's voice was crystal clear as she said her now famous line, "You know, you were just practice right." I told him to delete it. He said he already had, but the clip had reached another table, and someone else had posted it. By Monday morning, it was everywhere. The video blew up on social media under the title "Influencer Humiliates Boyfriend During Anniversary Dinner." Millions of views, thousands of comments. Some defended her, calling it empowerment. Most didn't. They called her cruel, shallow, narcissistic. Her brand sponsors went silent. A jewelry company that had featured her photo removed every post. The skincare brand she had promoted dropped her overnight. She tried to fight back, posting a live video in tears, saying it was all taken out of context, that toxic men couldn't handle confident women. But the internet wasn't buying it. Her follower count dropped by tens of thousands. Within days, she went from verified star to viral cautionary tale. While her world was collapsing, mine was rebuilding quietly. I threw myself into my work. I landed 2 major clients that month, companies who had seen my agency's portfolio online. I moved into a new apartment downtown with wide windows and a view of the skyline. For the first time in years, I woke up without my phone lighting up with drama. I slept better, ate better, even started going to the gym again. My mother said I looked lighter, like I had finally stepped out of someone else's shadow. Lila tried reaching me again through email, claiming she wanted closure. I didn't respond. She wasn't looking for closure. She was looking for relevance. Instead, I focused on quiet wins. I launched a campaign about authenticity in business, using lessons I had learned from that relationship. The campaign went viral in a different way, drawing clients who admired honesty and emotional intelligence. It felt poetic. One afternoon, while driving to a meeting, I stopped at a red light and glanced to my right. There was a new billboard my agency had designed for a local tech company. Bright colors, clean lines, my agency logo at the bottom. The billboard happened to sit right above her favorite cafe, the same one she used to film her coffee vlogs in. I laughed out loud, not from spite, but from the strange satisfaction of timing. She had wanted an audience, and she got one, just not the way she planned. I had wanted peace, and I found it in the quiet moments between projects, in the absence of chaos. People told me revenge must feel good, but what I felt wasn't revenge. It was clarity. Every time her name appeared online now, it was tied to the word lesson. Every time mine appeared, it was connected to growth. That was all I needed. My success was not built on destroying her. It was built on walking away from her without looking back. They say revenge is sweet, but I learned something sweeter. Silence. Success. And a billboard reminding me every day that sometimes the best way to win is to let the truth speak for itself. 6 months later, life felt like an entirely different world. The chaos, the heartbreak, and the noise had all faded into a quiet rhythm I had built for myself. I woke up early, brewed my own coffee instead of buying overpriced lattes, and worked from a clean, sunlit office that smelled like cedar and peace. My business had grown faster than I expected. I had 2 new interns, bright minds who reminded me why I started this company in the first place. Each morning, I watched them brainstorm with the same passion I once wasted on someone who measured worth through likes and filters. Then, one morning as I scrolled through my work emails, I saw a new message notification from an unfamiliar account. The subject line read, "Simply proud of you." My gut knew before I even opened it. Lila, the same woman who had laughed while calling me practice. The email was short, no explanations, no apologies. Just a sentence and a red heart emoji. I stared at it for a long time, half expecting some emotional reaction to crawl back into my chest. But all I felt was calm. I deleted it without replying. She didn't deserve to witness the man her cruelty built. Around that same time, I finally took a trip I had been promising my mother for years. We went to Greece, her dream destination. She had always talked about walking along the blue rooftops of Santorini and feeling the sea breeze on her face. Watching her smile as the sun set over the cliffs made me realize that love should never feel like walking on eggshells. Real love is calm, steady, and proud of your peace, not jealous of it. While I was away, my phone kept buzzing with messages from friends sending me screenshots of Lila's latest posts. She had rebranded herself as a motivational speaker, preaching about self-growth and transformation. The irony was impossible to miss. Her captions were filled with lines about healing, forgiveness, and letting go of the past. Yet every word looked like it was written for me, as if she was trying to rewrite her story to erase what had happened. People online had mixed reactions. Some still followed her, others saw through it. To me, it didn't matter anymore. She could chase whatever narrative she needed to survive. I had already moved past the chapter she was still trying to edit. I returned to Chicago with a new energy. My company was thriving, and my team had landed a national campaign for a major tech brand. I started mentoring young entrepreneurs, helping them avoid the mistakes I once made. I also began traveling more, visiting places I had only dreamed of when I was too busy funding someone else's lifestyle. Every city taught me something new about peace. It was not found in success or money, but in the quiet pride of building something honest. One evening, after a long day, I sat by the window in my apartment, the same spot where I once stared into the night, wondering how everything had gone wrong. Now, it felt like the universe had replaced the weight of heartbreak with the gift of perspective. The city lights shimmered below. The same view that once made me feel small now made me feel infinite. I realized I didn't need closure from her because closure had already come in the form of peace. Months later, I bumped into an old mutual acquaintance at a networking event. He mentioned that Lila had moved to Los Angeles, chasing a comeback that never really came. Her sponsors never returned. Her engagement never recovered. He said she talked about me sometimes, calling me the one that got away. I smiled politely and changed the subject. I didn't need to know more. The past belonged where it was. They say practice makes perfect, and in her own twisted way, she was right. Her rejection forced me to perfect something she never understood: self-worth. She was practicing how to pretend to be strong. I was practicing how to truly become it. Now, when people ask me about her, I don't tell the story with bitterness. I tell it with gratitude. She was a storm that destroyed everything weak in me, leaving behind only what was meant to last. I found strength in silence, peace in purpose, and love in the spaces I once filled with noise. She called me practice, but I was never her lesson. I was my own masterpiece in progress. And unlike her, I didn't need an audience to prove it.